What is going on? This is AlToneRC today. I actually have my T16D along with the included R16F receiver set up, bound, and functioning with my test model. And today I just wanted to go through a couple of things that I had to do in order to get it to function properly so that you can get an idea of how you can use this particular radio with the included receiver, or if you do decide to get a different receiver like the one that came with the T12D, which is this R12F. So the very first thing, of course, is binding it to the receiver. When you receive, or binding it to the radio, when you receive the radio, this T16F is already bound to the radio, so you really don't have to do that. But if you do find that you need to bind this receiver or any other receiver with your T16D, all you're going to do is use something very, very delicately. You might use a pointer like this one or something like that to press down on the button, on the bind button here on the side of the receiver. And once you do that, power it up, and you can use the USB-C to power it up, or you can just simply attach power from your ESC to the side here, and then it's going to start to blink. And if your radio is on and you're on the model in which you're binding it to, then it's going to automatically connect and bind up. You don't have to do a whole lot there. You don't even have to put the radio in binding mode. It will automatically connect to it. So you're good to go there. One of the things that I actually had a problem with upon first connecting it here, I got all my wires connected properly. I have everything labeled. I'm using channel 1, 2, 3, and 4 for my aileron, elevator, throttle, and rudder. And then I also am using a channel 6 for my flaps. When I did that, when I initially connected, my motor was beeping at me. I do not know exactly why that was happening. So what I did in order to correct that, in case you run into that issue, it is not a problem with the radio, it's not necessarily a problem with the receiver, but you might want to go ahead and do an update to the firmware on the receiver. And all you have to do that is plug it into your computer using the USB-C connection on the side of it. You're going to hold the bind button and plug into your USB onto your computer. It's going to show up as a drive. You download from the website, you'll download the firmware update, and you'll just drop it in that folder. Disconnected. It's updated, and from there it works perfectly. Turn this guy on. The other thing that I had an issue with, so you have a place here on the receiver that you can actually connect your connect a power lead to. So you'll, from your battery lead, I actually have a battery voltage, single battery voltage lead here. But if you connect and create a dual battery voltage lead, you can connect them positive and negative here. It's going to give you the voltage telemetry back from your receiver. External voltage, right now you see us saying zeros because I don't have anything connected. If you don't have that connected, it's going to continue to tell you that there's an issue or is low voltage. You're going to keep getting this notification that voltage is low. You're going to go into your receiver settings, go into your sensors, and then you're going to go down and turn your external voltage alarm off. Right now it's set as a low value of 3.5, which should be fine. But if you don't have that connected, it's going to continuously tell you, and we'll just demonstrate that, every 15 seconds.
Low engine battery voltage.
So it's going to give you a low engine battery voltage every 15 seconds because this is now turned on. And I'll speed it up a little bit.
Low engine battery voltage.
So what you want to do is you want to turn that off if you don't have this connected. And so you'll make sure you do that on some of the other receivers. They may or may not give you that voltage. They may not have the connector on them to give you that particular voltage, but this one does. And so again, if you're not going to connect that, you're going to want, or if you don't have that connected, you're going to want to disconnect or turn off that alarm on your radio so it doesn't keep telling you that there's a problem. And so one of the other things that you're going to want to do is we'll go back into mode, and you're going to want to make sure that everything's functioning properly. If you happen to have flaps, I have my flaps set. I am still working on trying to determine how to get these flaps to slow down. Once I do, I will give you an overview of how to do that. And I don't have flight modes currently set up on this radio where I have them set up on this one. But it's an interesting thing. So I have my flaps over here. And then this is my throttle cutoff. And that was also interesting. Where you think you might go in here for throttle cutoff is not exactly where you need to go. And of course we have ailerons, and they are actually working. We have our elevator working, and we have our rudder actually working properly. Let's take a look at the outputs first. First, we have our aileron channel, elevator channel, throttles reversed. And then if I remember correctly, we have our flaps are not reversed, but we've limited the travel on the flaps. So we adjusted the overall travel in essentially the trim so that the flaps are flat when they're in the up position. You can also put sounds on here, which I have not done yet. And I'll probably do another video on that soon. That you can put sounds on here, and then the sounds will tell you what you're doing per switch. And one of the things, just a pointer and something I'll tell you is, as you get different radios with different numbers of channels in the location of the switches, you're going to want to be a little careful with how you actually set them up, because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to set one radio up one way and another radio up a different way. And then when you go out to fly your aircraft, you could possibly crash it because you're going to hit the wrong switch at the wrong time. So you want to get used to or have a pattern for how you're setting your radio up every single time so that it functions from one radio to another or from one aircraft to another. They're all going to function the same. So let's go back into here, go into modes, general settings real quick. The reverses, let's take a look at that. We actually have channel 2 and channel 3 reversed on the radio. Our elevator was actually traveling in the wrong direction. It looks like we have to adjust our travel on the elevator just a little bit, and I'll do that in just a second. And then our throttle, we also reversed. So those are reversed. If we look at our endpoints, you have an endpoint adjustment, and we're going to adjust the elevator down a little bit more. I'm gonna make that down to 80 to keep from putting stress on this particular model, keep from putting stress on my servos, because I want these servos to last for a long time. So as I'm doing things, it's not going to cause any problems, and I'll be able to use this model without having to change these servos out. This is really nice, but it is a pain to try to change these servos out, and I've had to do that before because I burned out a servo on here before. Our flaps are actually set up for the endpoints on each of the flaps is 40, and that keeps us from having too much travel. Initially, when it's set up, the flaps were automatically all the way to the top, and they were actually on this particular switch. So VRA is the standard control for your channel 6 on your receiver when you first get it. So you have to change that, and you'll just go into aux channel here, and on aux channel you'll notice I have SWE on channel 6, which is this switch at this point. So I actually changed that from VRA to SWE, and all you have to do is click on it. It'll give you the selection, and you'll go down to the correct one, and that's it. And then in order to adjust the trims, like for my flaps here, so that they would actually be in the correct position, you'll notice my channel 6 is at -33. That actually puts my flaps in the position where I need them to. So let's take a look at it real quick. If I take that and I take it back down to 0, you notice that my flaps are slightly raised, which is not the position that you would want them to be in. So I figured out, and of course we'll just move the switch. It does give us the movement that we want, but we want them flush when they're in the up position. So I had to go back in and move that tooth, and you'll notice that they're going down. Negative 33 is about right to make them flush with the wing so that the flaps have essentially no effect at this point. They're not functioning. But if we hit the switch, we have mid flaps and basically takeoff and landing flaps. And again, we can put the sounds in this particular radio, which we'll do a different video on soon. So we can add the sounds onto those particular functions. So right now, the way we have everything set up, of course, we have our ailerons actually functioning properly. Elevator, and let's go out of here. Elevator actually functioning properly. Throttle is, we have a throttle off. Oh yeah. And then we have our rudder. Then flaps set up here. And then of course your throttle cutoff. Let's take a look at that really quickly. And I'm just gonna bring this up and just show you what that looks like. So if we go into model settings, and you notice that there's a throttle curve and a throttle hold. If you go to throttle hold, right now, SWF down is what it's set at, and the throw is at 0, and the state is on. So that's what you need to do. You have to set that throttle to 0 on throttle hold, and then that is your throttle cutoff. If you take this and you move it, you notice, if I move it to 1 with the switch down, if I turn the switch off, it stops moving because it is not active. If I turn it on, it goes to 1. So that is how you can adjust that. What you can also use this for, that particular switch for, is if you wanted to set it so that all you're doing is steering the aircraft and the throttle stays at a like 50% position or whatever, you could actually use that throttle hold for that purpose. You can use it as like a cruise control, but we're actually using it currently as a throttle cutoff. Now, one thing I have not done as of yet, which may add that throttle hold in there, is I have not actually updated the radio as of yet. So if we look at the transmitter settings and we go to about, this is the current hardware version and software version that we're running. We're running hardware version 1.0.2 and software version 1.5.1. And of course, if there is a newer software version, I'll try to put that up on the screen, but that is also where your reset systems settings are, as well as your factory reset. And if I'm correct, you can actually, you should be able to change your device name as well. So thanks so much for stopping by and checking this out with me. I really appreciate it. Just wanted to give you a good view of what it looks like and some of the things or challenges, quick challenges that I actually experienced when I set this guy up on the test model. Soon we're going to set it up to be flying, or actually we're going to bind it to a couple of our aircraft, and we're going to take this guy out and fly it using the T16D. And at some point I'll be setting them both up as for a buddy box system, so they'll work together, so I can take other people out and use these radios for the purpose of training other people how to fly. So thanks again, take care, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video.